You're on. You're on.
All right, welcome everybody. We are back again. Another episode of Kobe's Planet. From last week, I want to thank my guests, Kevin Lozon, JMO, and RJ Wells. They did a great job, had some fun here at you today to talk about another issue that's taken over the media as of late, and that is the Ray Rice story. I started viewing this as being a problem months ago. The media got a hold of this video, and now this thing's completely blown up, and he is kind of the poster boy or scapegoat for a problem long plaguing the NFL. I did some research, and I found some stats on Roger Goodell, and since he came in office in 2006, there's been 490 player arrests. Now, I want to say on record, I'm not judging anyone for breaking the law or getting arrested. We're looking at the situation as a whole and why this is such a problem for the NFL and has spiraled out of control and is now taken a turn for the worst, where the commissioner of a billion-dollar business, some are calling for his job. Something needs to be done in the NFL, that's for sure. So we're going to talk about that, and I want to introduce my guest first. Welcoming Chris Boychuk, good friend of mine, diehard Lions fan, father of two, all-around good guy. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, Mitch. How's it going?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Next guest is a guy I wanted to have on here since I had this idea for this show. Good friend of mine, Robbie Ouellette, convicted felon. Great guy, father, partner, good person in the community, someone I trust as my own children. Welcome, Robbie.
Thanks.
Now, Robbie has an interesting story. A lot of people caught wind of this as it received quite a lot of attention in the media from different sports channels, websites, and the papers. Some time ago, a friend of ours passed. It was actually Rob's best friend, Joe Paisner. Rest in peace, Joe. And Rob, being the solid stand-up guy he is, organized going out to Calgary to bring his friend back home. He was cremated, and because of the cost of burials and no real help there, Rob had this creative idea to honor Joe in a non-conventional way and have him remembered, and he certainly will be by this story. So I want, Rob, you to take over now and tell us a little bit about what happened at the Rogers Center.
So we all went to the Blue Jays game. It was a good time. I brought a dead body with me, and around the 7th inning, I went and dumped him on the field, which I thought wasn't a big deal, but apparently you can't dump dead bodies in the middle of sports fields. And I got bum rushed by security, and then, you know, they're talking about terrorism stuff, like I don't even fit the profile, you know what I mean? And then they basically just kind of reamed me out for a little bit and let me go. And then I ended up going to bed that day or the next day and woke up to like 30 inbox messages on my Facebook. Like I've had 30 inbox messages all year. No one likes me that much, you know? And yeah, a whole bunch of media stuff, and I had the news at my house, and it was for something good, for a difference, you know what I mean?
Now, you actually videotaped this incident. You did kind of a prequel. You had somebody videotaped talking about it. Then you actually formulated a plot how to get past the person at the bottom. And I did that once to get a Baron Davis autograph at a Pistons game. Yeah. So this was something that you recorded to kind of keep as a keepsake, but I'm sure you didn't realize it was going to turn into as big as it was. Yeah, no, I had no idea. It was actually quite shocking. I'm not really the attention kind of guy, so it was kind of a lot to take in. Now, I think, as unconventional and as taboo as it may have been, it honored Joe in a way. You guys grew up loving the Blue Jays. It was something you shared as friends, and he will be forever remembered at the Rogers Center as, he rests there, sort of a spirit in the sky, if you will. Yeah, that's good. All right, so we're going to get started now. Ray Rice, this thing popped off shortly last week as Gossip Hounds, TMZ, released this video that I'm sure the NFL would have loved to take back if they could have actually released the tape or acknowledged that there was one, and at the very least coincided that it was accurate with what Ray Rice had told. This tape got released to the media. Everybody's seen it. It created a huge problem and black eye for the NFL and the Baltimore Ravens. Coming off an already light suspension, he received 2 games. Since then, the policy was reviewed and changed to 6 games. Now, he is suspended indefinitely. looking at Hardy from the Carolina Panthers, he beat up his girlfriend and threw her on a couch full of assault rifles. He went through the court process, was found guilty. He's still playing. So Ray Rice suspended indefinitely. Things aren't adding up, and it's just not. It just doesn't seem like it's accurate and the same for all the players. Like, there's got to be one model or format. This whole 2-game thing. What do you guys think, Chris, to start about Ray Rice being suspended indefinitely?
Well, I don't like the fact that it starts with the NFLPA and the CBA that they signed to begin with, that lets Roger Goodell have the power to do these things to the players.
Right.
Whatever Roger Goodell feels is best for the detriment of the league, he can decide on his own. They have the one place rule, the one foul rule, where he's only allowed to be, either suspended by the team or the league, and the league took action with the 2-game suspension. That should have stopped. No more, there should have been no more punishment, as the CBA says, as the contract that they signed with the NFLPA. So for him to come back and suspend him indefinitely and also be punished by his team, I think we're going to see a little more with Ray Rice, and he may be back on the football field a lot quicker than we think he is.
Do you think he's been hung out to dry here? And again, I want to say on record, I'm not condoning what he did. I'm not stating that it was all right. Domestic violence isn't okay. He's got some amends to make and some changes he needs to make in his own life, and I'm sure he's well on his way to doing that. So this isn't about acknowledging or accepting or co-signing off on his choices, but is he being hung out to dry by the media?
I believe with this video coming to surface and TMZ releasing the video to the public, yeah, Ray Rice has been the poster child for the NFL right now. The NFL's kind of been untouchable the last 10 years. Their players, the high up execs, and they don't let the media and the law enforcement kind of come into their league. They've always been kind of untouchable. With this video coming out, I do believe he is the poster child right now for the NFL and disciplinary action.
You know what? That's a really good point. We haven't seen physical evidence like that. So when you see something on tape that's as heart-wrenching as what you watch, being a father, being a spouse, just being a person, that impacts and makes it a lot worse. Like I said, we could have seen 489 other tapes. But I just think, is Ray Rice's situation any worse than this problem that spiraled out of control? Rob, your thoughts?
I think the Ray Rice situation, I mean, it's serious because domestic violence is serious. But if you take into consideration, if you were to take the aspect of that she's a female out of that, let's say Ray Rice is gay, and he punches his male companion out in an elevator, would there even be any media attention? He probably wouldn't even be suspended. It would be on TV. It would be nothing. They're taking the female issue into it, as opposed to taking the whole kind of domestic violence itself into it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback off that because going back to the actual elevator incident, she took a swat at him and also spit in his face.
Yeah, you see it.
And in all of in the CNN coverage, I forget the reporter's name, I apologize. She's tending to lead a bit of a witch hunt. She never mentioned him spitting or her hitting. So I see it as domestic violence between both parties. But her part in this is not being documented, recognized. I mean, people know that it happened, but it's more just coming back on him because he's the male. And again, not what he did was okay. It's just not being recognized.
Yeah, and I say, my wife and we've talked in long discussion about the Ray Rice issue. I do have 2 little girls. It touches home to me watching, a husband and a spouse and how much this video has been played. You can't go anywhere. You can't watch the news. Even if you did not want to see this video, you have seen it. You can't help it. You turn on the TV and every media outlet is putting this on. Every single channel, play after play. You've seen the punch. I've probably seen the punch 100 times, and I'm not out to looking to watch the video. This is just watching the news. It's non-stop.
Yeah, and I'm sure that resonates with you being a father and every other father and you as well, Rob, across the world, and that part of it is sad. And again, the family is stating that they want to stick together and work through this issue, and they're being criticized. Again, her being the victim in the role, people are saying things like she needs to leave. If they want to work this thing out and it was a one-time incident, where are we as a society not to forgive and not to let them work through their issue, because things go on behind closed doors everywhere and we don't know what they are. Fortunately for them, it was caught on tape. So working through as a family, you both being in relationships and having partners, is this no relationship's perfect? Is this something that you believe they should work through?
Yeah, they should obviously work through it. I mean, there's been so many times me and my wife have gotten into a fight, and I've like had to restrain myself because I mean, honestly, a relationship's hard. It's not easy. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you know, if they're gonna work through it, they're probably gonna be stronger for it. Obviously, if it becomes a repeat incident and he's beating her once a week, you know what I mean? There's obviously an issue there, a deeper issue. You know what I mean? Maybe a psychology, you know, a mental issue there.
Yeah.
Anger issue, right?
I think, you know, a lot has to do too with, you know, it comes outside of the NFL as well to the judicial system where the state that this happened in, he was only punished with a low, like it wasn't a federal offense, or he didn't get charged with, you know, a very hard crime. He did a little bit of probation, and I do believe he even took that to court and had that sentence reduced to a little bit of counseling. So, you know, this is a lot bigger than the NFL, and I think this actually opens up the doors to domestic violence, and now we can actually see it. You know, we hear about it, it happens behind closed doors. A lot of times you don't actually see the violence, and with this, I think it opens the doors to domestic violence, and a lot of people who never really thought of it can now see it, and you know, we can do more about it.
And that's a good point. Looking back at the statistics, I believe there's 10 players charged, or 10 players charged since 2010 with domestic violence, so it's definitely an issue, not just in the NFL, but society, and definitely something we have to work through, certainly for our children's sake. Ray Rice did release something. He had said he's sworn off liquor, but not wine. He's kind of blaming this towards alcohol, but not taking the stance of maybe I need to quit drinking. So I think he kind of shot himself in the foot there. How do you think Ray's done with the media attention, and has he done the right things?
Staying quiet, I think, is the best policy, because anytime you open your mouth, you have a good chance of sticking your foot in it. Staying quiet is the best. I don't think his wife should have come out and publicly shamed the media for what has happened as well. I just think right now, quiet is the best. Let the NFLPA do your talking for you. Let your union, you know, that's what they're there for. Let them do it. I think just staying quiet is the best thing for Ray Rice right now.
Now, is the union protecting these guys to the point where, you know, it's allowing them to make these mistakes again and again and not learn?
You know, like, people are people, right? I mean, you can't really be hide behind the union, especially when it comes down to the eyes of the law, right?
That's right.
He has been formally charged. Whether his sentencing was on par with what people think it should be, there's probably a lot of her support in that's going to lower the sentence, right? I don't think a union should get involved in anything, especially in somebody's personal life. If the NFL wants to, you know, if they want to go, you know, on a witch hunt, there's several other players they could have went after.
Let's move in that direction now. I went out and collected the data and did the math, and again, it's 490 arrests since 2006. And this is a problem that in like 06, 07, and 08, the arrests were in like the 70s. 70 plus players, so it's not gotten better. It's been actually on par and in an even keel since. It's I think 54 in 2013 already. Is this a problem? Like, these guys are going out, we've got murder, assault with weapon, gun possession, drug dealing, domestic violence. You know, these guys are in a privileged position. They get paid a lot of money to do what they love. They get to grow and have a family in a different kind of life, right? Everything's taken care of for the most part. They do very, very well. They get taken care of where they go. You know, they're not. It doesn't seem that they're really learning from their mistakes. They're being committed again and again and again. Are these guys privileged to be in the position they're in, or are they treating that way? Is there true gratitude for what they get to do? I know I love my job. I have to go to work and work really, really hard to sustain just a basic life, and these guys have this kind of this wonderful situation to do what they love. So is this a problem for the league?
I believe it is 100%. I do not think Greg Hardy should be playing football this week. The judges charged him only on the fact that the state that they're in, he can now take it to a grand jury. He appealed the judge's conviction, and now he can go to a grand jury. Where the Carolina Panthers and Roger Goodell in the NFL are saying we're going to wait to see what the grand jury says. I think what the judge has said was spot on. The call that he made to 911 was a complete rouse to kind of throw the whole situation around. He should not be playing football. He has taken his position in the NFL for granted. A lot of these people have. Jerry Jones is another one right now that, this one's starting to pop up a little more as well. These guys do take their positions for granted. There's 1,000 other guys that would go out there and play this game for less money.
Yes. And 490 arrests to prove it. And going back to Hardy, he was convicted and found guilty, and he is appealing that decision. So this isn't something people have in terms of speculation or, did he do it or didn't he do it? He did it, and he's still playing football. Nobody's hashtagging Greg Hardy. President Obama isn't out there talking about Greg Hardy. And again, Ray Rice is being hung out to dry here. So it's a little odd, given that this is a common problem in the NFL. Rob?
Yeah, he's definitely being hung out to dry. I mean, at the end of the day, there's tons of problems in the NFL. I mean, if you look back over the years, there's been like you said, 400, 500 some odd incidents, right? I mean, it's obviously going to be an issue, and it's probably not going to change. It's human nature to make mistakes, right? Right. But when you start putting them on TV, you know what I mean, and taking this guy's livelihood away over something that his family doesn't even consider to be, I know it's a big deal, but not that big of a deal. So there's a lot of responsibility being taken by both parties there, and I think the NFL should just leave him alone.
So we're going to switch focus here. In the wake of the Ray Rice story and all these things coming to light, Adrian Peterson has now been charged with child abuse. He has been deactivated for this Sunday's game. Does he get suspended indefinitely now? Now we're looking at another. I mean, it's not domestic violence, but it's certainly serious. He's been deactivated in the wake of the Ray Rice story. How bad is this for AP, and what do they do with him going forward?
I think this is horrible for AP. One of the biggest names in the game right now, someone who's done so much for his community. The people in Minnesota love Adrian Peterson. For this story to come out, it's a tough story to talk about. Me having children, I couldn't fathom getting a switch, which is what they're calling the stick and breaking the branch off.
Can you explain that for a sec? I've read it. I don't know what it is.
So in East Texas, a switch is a branch or a stick broken off a tree with the leaves busted off it and used as a whip.
Oh, wow.
That's what they call a switch, and that's why the pictures that have come out, and he's got the lacerations under his legs. He's got one, I believe, near the inside of his thighs and up his back. He has lacerations from this beating with a so-called switch.
I'm glad you're able to explain that. That sort of changes things for me. I work with kids, and I'm not going to say on record that a butt whipping couldn't do somebody good every now and then, but hitting people with sticks with the leaves pulled off in that area, I'm not too sure I'm going to sign off on that. Rob, you're a father. What do you think about this?
Like, I personally wouldn't do it to my kid. I do, like you said, you're not going to go on record, but I'll go on record saying I do see a lot of kids that could probably use a switch. But me personally, I don't have that issue with my kids. My kids respect me. I would never have to do anything like that to my kids. It's not really fear, it's respect, right? Obviously, I'm bigger than them.
So AP is essentially trying to teach his son respect, and he's doing so with what some could call a form of violence.
Oh, and what he states is that he's just following the pattern of his parents. That's how he was disciplined as a child. And a lot of people in East Texas right now don't see this as an issue. I was reading some Twitter feeds saying, I don't know what the issue is. My mom would take me out and hit me with a switch right now. It just doesn't seem like things have changed in that part of Texas in a long, long time, and this is still something that they do every day.
So he's deactivated for a game. What do you think the league's going to do the following week? They've taken Ray Rice off the roster. He's been cut and suspended indefinitely for something that is documented as a 6-game suspension. So what does AP do? Or what do you think's going to happen?
I'm not too sure. I mean, I think more in the Rice situation, he was formally charged with the crime, as to where Adrian Peterson hasn't been. So the league's going to probably take that. And he's a moneymaker. At the end of the day, it's all about money.
That's 100%. Right.
And there's no way that they're going to take him out of the game. Ray Rice is one thing, Peterson's another. There's no way they're going to take him out of his game. I think he'll be back next week, or at least I hope so.
That's a good point, because certainly we see special treatment for certain players, and that's part of the problem here, is that there isn't consistency in the discipline that's handed down. Now, the NFL and the NFLPA have released a new due process for players with infractions. They've reduced the drug suspensions. Marijuana is a hot topic. It's, you know, on the brink of being legalized. You know, the opinion of people that it isn't a performance-enhancing drug, putting Wes Welker and potentially Josh Gordon on the field a lot earlier than they were being suspended. Now, in the wake of all of these arrests and problems, is reducing games suspensions in certain areas a good thing?
Right now with the drug policy, I do believe things have to change a little bit. With the marijuana policy, Josh Gordon being now only a 10-game suspension, back towards the end of the season. I can't speak a lot about the Wes Welker thing. I don't know a lot about, you know, the amphetamine that he took and why he was suspended in the first place. The drug policy needed to be changed a little bit, but right now I don't think was the time. I think they need to handle the inner office part of it and how they control what their disciplinary actions are towards their players. I
would agree, and I don't think the timing was their option or their choice. I think this thing just got finalized in the middle of the Ray Rice scandal. So, you know, going on like a hard term or zero tolerance, is that the way to go for these things like domestic violence, child abuse? What do they do to hold these guys accountable and ensure that people aren't making the same mistakes?
Obviously, if they lax on their drug policy, there's going to be far less suspensions. You know, at least big suspensions, right? So just by doing that, they're going to decrease the amount of suspensions they have in a year. So even if they do that, they look a lot better. Are they going to do anything more or anything less? I don't think so, because they have a union they have to deal with. So once they deal with that union, they're already all signed into contracts. You can't just void and nil those contracts like that. It's, you know, there'd be lawyers, there'd be legal bills, it'd be crazy.
Right. We have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to touch on one quick issue, and that is the growth hormone. I believe this is a major problem in sports. They've now decided that they're going to test for that. I think things are going to get pretty ugly. Quick, Chris, what do you think about the growth hormone part?
I believe they hit it spot on with that one. Those players, it's not fair to the players that want to train every day. They want to work hard every day. They want to play the sport that they love every single day. They come to work and they play hard, to get paid the money that they get paid, where some of these players may step out of the boundaries a little bit, not work as hard, stuff like that. I agree with that part of the new drug policy. They do need to start testing. We've seen other leagues in the last little bit get right on some of their players about the growth hormones and stuff like that. So I do believe that part of the drug policy they hit pretty good.
And I would agree. I think they got that part right, and it's about time they finally got something right. That's going to wrap it up for today. I want to thank you, Chris and Rob, for coming on, sharing your opinions, thoughts, and views. Thanks everybody at home for watching. We will be back at you next Sunday. The very special episode, UFC Ultimate Fighter Randa Marcos will be on set along with Kyle Prepelic and Blake Nash. Thanks everybody for tuning in.